Member of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Constitutional Development, Oscar Mathafa. A very good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for speaking to us tonight. So, a man shot multiple times inside a court building. The attacker then manages to leave with no one stopping him. What questions does this raise for you about the safety of what is supposed to be actually sacred ground when you consider the work of the courts and the justice system?
Good afternoon, good evening, Tembele and the viewers. It is very worrying and we are extremely horrified by the incident. And more saddened, Tembele, because the concerns that we have raised in our oversight visit in the KZN province 2 weeks back as a portfolio committee has been proven correct by such a heinous incident that happened at Wynberg. The gentleman that was on the screen now mentions the CCTV cameras that are not working in the court. This is an observation that we picked up as well in multiple courts that we visited in KZN. The security provision is not sufficient. And with the X-ray machines not working, the security guards relies on patting down and doing manual search. And we believe that when that happens, security can be compromised. And our view is that there should be a deep dive in order to see what in the Wynberg Magistrate Court. Is it a system or is it a process failure so that we are able to rectify this situation going forward?
So if, for example, the Portfolio Committee, which you are part of, is aware of some of these issues around safety, lax security as well, at the country's courts, why has it not been addressed? And I asked that, beginning of this year, there was a witness killed at the Lenasia Magistrates Court here in Johannesburg. Not too long ago, in 2023, two people, a couple who were also witnesses in a criminal matter, were killed not too far from the Wynberg Magistrates Court.
In the first instance, Thembekile, let me just reiterate the point that I made earlier. It is our first oversight visit when we went to KZN. But on the Wynberg matter, as we speak, the chair and the secretariat are working on arrangements that we do a fact-finding visit to the Wynberg Magistrate Court. The case that you mentioned is not the only one. You would remember in Umlazi, Mr. Boy was shot as a prosecutor coming from Pietermaritzburg to prosecute a matter that was remanded. And we have agreed as a portfolio committee, the matter of security is not only going to be taken as an operational matter. It must be seen as a strategic matter, and we will urge the portfolio committee to include the Wynberg situation in the report coming out from the KZN, so that we are able to put pressure on the ministry and the NPA, because you are right, this comes from the 5th and the 6th Parliament as well. And as a committee, we are actually appalled that no measures have been taken to rectify this particular failure.
So I'm looking, for example, now at a report. The News 24 team went back to the Wynberg Magistrates Court today after the shooting yesterday, and they say that security remained alarmingly relaxed, no functioning walk-through metal detector, and inconsistent use of handheld scanners. That speaks to a lack of seriousness. It suggests that there's not a seriousness to deal with these issues, where even at the same court where 24 hours ago a man was murdered, it was business as normal, business as usual.
Yes, it is actually shocking, Thembekile, and that is where we also draw our displeasure. Because even when we went to the Durban Magistrate Court, you find witnesses, magistrates, judges, as well as prosecutors sharing the same passage. There is no operational efficiency, and we were actually disturbed, and we raised this matter very sharply with the Department of Justice as well as Public Works to ensure that this anomaly is corrected, because the safety of any person who enters a government institution, especially the courts, must be of priority. And it is worrying that even after 24 hours, as you say, the security was lax. And I think we need to have answers from the Department of Justice as to why strong measures are not put in place.
What becomes the role of the committee then in getting this addressed? I know you've got the ability and you do get frequently briefings from the minister, etc. But what should the committee be doing in terms of real action to agitate for the creation of a safer place for the administration of justice in this country?
I think the first part would be looking at the resources that are allocated to the ministry. We as a portfolio committee are the ones that actually pass the budget for the department. We will be looking if whether the argument that not sufficient resources are allocated to the ministry, especially the court facilities, is true. And the measure that we will use is to look at the impact of the budget cut, any, on the service delivery as compared to the impact on the fiscus.
Right.
And if there are issues of budget cuts, we will agitate for the National Treasury to allocate more funds. The argument put in place as to why in-house security is not being replaced when there's a resignation is because of budget cuts. And we'll also maybe try to engage the ministry to look at creative ways of dispensing justice. As an example, appearance of accused in court adds an additional risk. Can't we look at instances where witnesses are allowed to testify remotely? If maybe there are reminders of cases, why can't we do that when the offender is in the facility of correctional services?
Okay.
Instead of always having them come through to the court and add more to the risk.
You were on SABC radio recently, Oscar, talking about the NPA and that very scathing judgment against them in the Eastern Cape in the Timothy Omotosho matter. We know that now a report has been compiled. It's supposed to be with the NDPP, Shamila Batohi. What do you see as the role of the committee there? Do you want, for example, the head of the NPA to be called to appear and explain why that particular matter was handled in such an incompetent fashion?
There is a view of the committee, Thembekile. Again, there was also a failure in multiple levels and on our efforts to eradicate violence against women and children. So we believe that once the report has been processed by the minister and the NPA must appear before the committee so that we can interrogate those particular reports. The committee did also raise an alarm in the last interaction we had with the NPA on the low number of convictions on sexual offenses. But equally, the numerous allegations that we received about prosecutors misconducting themselves. I will cite two examples quickly. The Utu water case, the investigator accused the prosecutor of either gross dishonesty or incompetence. Exactly what Judge Skuman raised in the case of Omotoso. In another instance of the state capture case, there was a complaint by the court that evidence was not forthcoming, which points at incompetence by the NPA. The question is, when these allegations and charges against the competence of the NPA are leveled, what does the division say? What does the national office do? Because you can't tell me that they did not pick such allegations up. And that is why we, as a committee, we are disturbed and we actually take keen interest on to see the contents of that particular report.
Thank you very much for your time. Oscar Mathafa, Member of Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Justice and Constitutional Development.